Fundamental segments of classroom instruction. There are three. Segments that are routine components of every lesson. Now, just let me talk about routines for a second. Regardless of whether it's a kindergarten classroom or a 12th grade classroom, does it make sense there will probably be routines? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's things you expect to see that happen. You know, do they have to be the same from teacher to teacher? No. Okay. There might be some routines you say in this building, there are some routines we all do, and in this district. Those are all decisions you make when you're developing your language/model of instruction. So, segments that are routine components of every lesson. Second one is content-specific lesson segments. Now, this is where you get into different types of lessons. If you can stay awake the whole time, I'm going to talk about 3 different types of lessons. And to go back to my dinner with Madeline Hunter, I remember her talking about that. She said, my lesson design, I'm paraphrasing, you know, has some good parts, but it doesn't fit for all lessons. So a robust model of what teaching looks like has to have more than one type of lesson. I'm going to talk about 3 if you're going to hang in there. And then the last type of segment, or set of segments that must be enacted on the spot. Things come up, and a teacher has to be ready to deal with it. Well, let me give you ours. So there are routine segments, you know, that show up pretty much in every lesson. There are content-specific segments, okay, and then there are segments that are enacted on the spot, just to kind of fill in how those work. Our routines, we talk about, if I were king for the world, I would say routines should involve learning goals and feedback, and then rules and procedures. I'll go into more depth. Segments that address specific type of content. We think there are 3 types of lessons. One is where students are interacting with new knowledge. They've never had it before. They're interacting with new knowledge. Okay. Next type of lesson is they've had it before and now they're practicing something or they're getting deeper into it. The third type of lesson is where they're taking the content and applying it in a new situation. Does it make some intuitive sense so far? And then there's a whole bunch of things that happen on the spot. You know, it comes up, teachers got to be ready to deal with those. And it's not simple. You can't be reductionist enough to get teaching down to a set of a few strategies. It just doesn't work. And I think any attempt to do that is a disservice to teachers and the teaching profession. Personal opinion, obviously. So the fundamental question any supervisor must ask him or herself, what am I observing right now? Am I observing a segment that is a routine component of every lesson? Am I observing a content-specific lesson segment? Am I observing a segment that must be enacted on the spot? That's what you ask yourself. Now, for each of these segments, you got to know, well, what goes into those. Now, if you don't like our model, we say then create your own. Okay? But when you create your own, make sure you think of routines, different types of lessons, and things on the spot. You know, people have done that. No kidding, I've heard people say, we heard your speech, we didn't like your model, we created our own. How's it going? They said, really great. So fine. It's not that hard to do if you kind of think of these 3 segments in mind.